Let's listen to The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, Level B2, Oxford Reading University.
Part 2. You will find Part 1 in the description and on our channel.
Then she spotted the two men from the distance and stood still. "Come away, mother, or the old black man will catch you. He has already caught Mr. Dimmesdale, and he will get hold of you, too. But he can't catch little Pearl," she shouted, taking her mother away. "Here is a woman who does not hide her shameful secret," said Chillingworth. "Do you think she is happier than those who have things to hide?" "I think she might be, though I can't answer for her," replied the priest. "There was a look of suffering on her face that I wouldn't want to see. But still, she is free to demonstrate this pain, and it makes her life easier than some people's." There was silence again. Then Chillingworth said, "Regarding your health, I have to admit that I am confused. Your symptoms are very common, yet I don't understand what illness you have. Are you sure that you have told me everything? Is there anything else that you're struggling with?" "I cannot see why you're asking this," said Dimmesdale. "If I had meant to hide any of my wounds, I wouldn't have called for a doctor." "True, but what we see is only part of the problem. Physical health is connected to the health of the soul," said Chillingworth, looking straight into the priest's pale eyes. "Unless you are willing to share the things that are troubling your soul, I am of no use to you as a doctor." "Then I will not ask you anymore. You are not the one to cure people's souls. Only God can do that," said the priest and rushed out of the room. "It's just a little argument," said Chillingworth to himself. "We will be friends again. But why did he get so emotional all of a sudden?" Soon afterward, Dimmesdale returned. He apologized to Chillingworth, and they were on friendly terms again. Some days later, Dimmesdale fell asleep in his chair. He did not move a muscle, so Chillingworth approached him and pulled the priest's shirt to the side. Dimmesdale moved a little, and Chillingworth stepped back. He just stared at the sleeping priest. What he had witnessed brought an expression of wild joy and horror to his face. He was now sure that Dimmesdale was Hester's lover. Chillingworth remained calm and friendly as before. But inside, he burned with the desire to take revenge on Dimmesdale for his sin. He knew Dimmesdale's weakness and decided to use it against him. He kept asking his friend provocative questions, implying that he knew about Dimmesdale's sin, but never asked him directly. Dimmesdale suffered greatly from his shameless inquiries, because every time he was reminded of his crime. But he was too embarrassed to talk to Chillingworth openly, and could only suffer in silence. His physical and mental troubles, however, made him more popular at church. Feeling scared and desperate helped him better understand other people's pain. They thought he was holy, whereas he was suffering from his sin, and their blind trust caused him a lot of pain. Dimmesdale wanted to reveal his secret to them, to tell everyone that there was nothing to admire him for. He even did so multiple times, but of course he never told them the actual reason why he didn't deserve their trust. So people listened, but did not understand. He blamed himself all the time. How could he ever be forgiven for lying to the people and to himself? At night, he could barely sleep. He stared at his face in the mirror, and horrible visions troubled his mind. He saw the faces of his parents, accusing him of crime. He saw different evil and holy creatures, but the most frightening vision was that of Hester Prynne with little Pearl. Hester pointed her finger at her scarlet letter, and then at Dimmesdale. Although he was conscious that these visions were not real, they were driving him mad. One night he rose from his chair, got dressed, and went to the scaffold. He thought that he had found the solution that would put an end to his suffering. He was planning to stand there all night without sleep, right where Hester had stood several years before. The town was empty. There was nobody to discover him. Why was he there? Was it a way for him to punish himself? He did not know. Many frightening thoughts were running through his head. At one point he felt so desperate that he let out a loud scream, only to regret it instantly. "Everyone must have heard that," he whispered to himself. "Now the whole town will rush here and find me." But no one did. Maybe they thought that the scream came from their nightmares. He saw Governor Bellingham looking out of his window. He was dressed in white and looked like a ghost. Then everything went quiet again, and Dimmesdale felt relieved. He saw John Wilson coming in his direction with a light in his hand. Wilson was returning from the house of Mr. Winthrop, the town's first governor. There, he had just seen the old man on his way to heaven. At one point, Dimmesdale thought that he had said something to the priest. However, he only did that in his imagination. Wilson passed by the scaffold and did not notice Dimmesdale. The night was cold, and Dimmesdale was freezing. He felt like he could not move. Dimmesdale imagined how someone would find him in the morning, still like a statue, and soon all the townspeople would be standing there, staring at him. This vision seemed strangely amusing to him, and he started laughing very loudly. And then a child's laughter came in response. He listened closely and recognized Pearl's voice. "Little Pearl, is that you? And is Hester Prynne there too?" he asked. "Yes, I'm here," replied Hester. "Why are you here?" "I was at Governor Winthrop's deathbed taking measurements. I will sew the clothes that he will be buried in," said Hester. "Come here, Hester, and bring your daughter with you. We will all stand together," said Dimmesdale. They joined him on the scaffold, and he took them both by the hand. At once he felt a rush of new life flow into his heart and fill him from the inside. Suddenly, a red falling star flashed through the sky, and Dimmesdale thought that it looked like a big scarlet letter A. Then, the star disappeared. Dimmesdale saw that Pearl was pointing with her finger across the street. There stood Roger Chillingworth. Was he real? Was it a vision? If Pearl saw him, then he had to be real. Dimmesdale saw Chillingworth's dark outline and his evil, horrible smile. "Who is this man, Hester?" he cried. "Who is he? I hate him, Hester!" But Hester remembered her promise, so she did not answer. Meanwhile, Chillingworth approached the scaffold. "Mr. Dimmesdale, have you been walking in your sleep?" he asked. "How did you know I was here?" asked Dimmesdale. "I didn't. I was coming back from Mr. Winthrop's deathbed and saw you," replied Chillingworth. "Now let's go home." During his service the next day, Dimmesdale delivered one of his most powerful speeches. Later, he learned a shocking fact from another priest. The previous night, he said, the townspeople saw a light in the shape of an A in the sky. However, they all decided that it meant angel, because Governor Winthrop had died that night and become an angel. "Haven't you heard about it?" asked the priest. "No, I haven't," replied Dimmesdale simply. Hester was seriously concerned about Dimmesdale's health. When she saw him on the scaffold, he was pale and weak. She feared that he would lose his mind if he didn't stop distressing himself. Also, she suspected that Chillingworth was to blame for the priest's sorry state. The doctor did not seem to cure Dimmesdale's condition. He just made it worse. Hester was sure that her husband did that deliberately, because he had learned about their relationship. One day, Hester and Pearl were walking along the beach. Suddenly, Hester noticed Chillingworth in the distance. She sent her daughter to play in the water and went to talk to her husband. "Ah, Mistress Prynne, I have good news for you," he said as he saw her. "The judges are thinking about letting you take your letter off your dress. You have earned a good reputation in the past several years." "They should not be the ones to decide," replied Hester coldly. "Only God can judge me. If he had decided that I was forgiven, he would have let it fall off by itself." All this time, Hester was looking closely at Chillingworth's face. The change in his expression shocked her. It was as if he had transformed from a kind-looking doctor into a real devil. He looked evil, like a man who spent 7 years of his life plotting revenge. "I want to talk to you about Arthur Dimmesdale," she said. He gave her an innocent look, and she went on firmly. "7 years ago, I swore that I would never tell anyone that you had once been my husband. But I cannot keep this secret any longer. Every day I see Dimmesdale waste away, and it's your fault. You are driving him mad. You make him suffer with your words, and I am the one who enabled you to do so." "You had no choice," cried Chillingworth. "One word from me, and this man will be sentenced to death." "Death would have been better than what you have put him through," said Hester stiffly. "Haven't you harmed him enough?" "With each passing day he deserves more and more," replied Chillingworth. "I used to be a kind, calm man, but look what I have turned into. It was all your fault, but you have suffered enough from your Scarlet Letter. Now I need to take my revenge on him." Let me at least reveal your identity to him, demanded Hester. He should know the truth about why you hate him so. After that, do what you want to him. No one can rescue him or any of us anymore. I feel sorry for you, said Chillingworth with regret. If you had met someone better than me, the crime wouldn't have happened at all. And I feel sorry for you, she replied. You were once a wise man, but now you're a devil. Is there anything human left in your soul? Can't you forgive and let go? I cannot forgive, he said. By your first wrong step, you planted the root of evil. Now you have to let its black flowers grow. Go and tell your man whatever you want. When Chillingworth left, Hester went back to Pearl. The little girl was playing in the shallow water. She wrapped herself in seagrass and pretended to be a sea creature. As a final decoration, she made the letter A out of the grass and put it on her chest. My little Pearl, the green letter on your chest has no meaning, said Hester softly. But do you know why your mother wears it? For the same reason that the priest keeps his hand over his heart, replied Pearl. And what reason is that? Asked Hester. I don't know, said Pearl seriously. What is the reason? Why do you wear it? And what is wrong with the priest's heart? Pearl took her mother's hand and looked her in the eyes. Could Hester confess? Maybe the girl could understand her. Maybe she could show some sympathy that Hester had long desired. No, she said to herself. If that is the price of the child's sympathy, I will not pay it. Silly child, you are interested in things that a child should know nothing about, said Hester. And what do I know about the priest's heart? As for the scarlet letter, I am wearing it because it is shiny and looks beautiful. For several days after that, Pearl kept asking the same question but never received a reply. Days passed, but Hester still didn't get to speak to Dimmesdale. She could not visit him at home because she was afraid to meet Chillingworth there. Finally, she heard that he had gone to pay a visit to someone. Supposing that he was going to return through the forest, she went to meet him there. As usual, she took Pearl with her. It was midday, and the sun shone brightly. But as they made their way through the forest, it seemed to escape them. Look, Mother, the sun doesn't love you. When it sees you, it hides away, said Pearl. It's afraid of the letter on your chest, but it isn't afraid of me because I have nothing on my chest yet. And hopefully you never will, replied Hester. Now run away, catch the sun. Pearl ran off and danced in the sun for a bit. But when Hester approached her, the sun hid away again. Suddenly she saw someone coming toward them and said, Little Pearl, I will need to speak to this gentleman for a brief moment. Will you go play by the stream? Who is this gentleman? Asked Pearl. Don't you see? It's the priest, replied Hester. I see now, laughed the girl, and he has his hand over his heart. Then the child ran away, and Hester stood there waiting for the priest to come nearer. Then she called him quietly. Who speaks? He asked. He turned around, trying to detect the mysterious voice. Then he spotted the shiny scarlet letter between the trees and breathed out with relief. Hester Prynne, is that you? Yes, it's me, said Hester. Have you found peace at last? Asked Dimmesdale. Have you? She returned. None, he cried. I'm gradually growing more and more desperate. If I didn't believe in God, it would be so much easier. But people in your church admire you, said Hester. Doesn't that bring you comfort? It makes me even more unhappy, said Dimmesdale. What can I teach them about sin when I myself have sinned? How can I help rescue their souls if mine is ruined? It is easier for you. You can wear your scarlet letter openly, but my secret is burning through my heart, and I have no friend to share it with. You have such a friend. It's me, your partner in sin, said Hester. But you also have an enemy, and he lives in the same house as you. An enemy? In my house? What do you mean? Cried Dimmesdale. Oh, Arthur, forgive me. I never lied to you except about one thing, said Hester regretfully. I did it for your own safety, but lying is never good, and I cannot keep the secret any longer. That old man, the doctor that people call Roger Chillingworth, was once my husband. He gave her a brief, severe look, but there was no violence in his feelings, as he was so weak physically. He sank to the ground and buried his face in his hands. "I think that deep in my heart I knew it," he said. "This would have explained the horror I felt at the sight of this evil creature. And I've been blind all this time. It's all your fault." Hester lowered herself to the ground, too, and embraced Dimmesdale. "You must forgive me. Let God punish us both, but you must forgive me." She pressed his head against her chest, not caring that his cheek rested right upon the Scarlet Letter. "I do forgive you, Hester," said Dimmesdale at last, "and God will forgive us too. People commit crimes worse than ours. But what should I do now?" "You must rid yourself of this man's influence," replied Hester wisely. "Our world might seem limited, but it is broad, and there are other better places. Let's run away. We can begin a new life abroad. You will take a different name, and we will be happy." For a brief moment, a flame of hope shone in Arthur's eyes, but it died out right away. "Oh, Hester, I don't possess enough strength or courage to seek better fortune in a better place alone," he said. "I shall die here." "But you won't be alone," whispered Hester. And so it was decided. Hester, Pearl, and Dimmesdale would go to England together. They would get on the English ship in 4 days and be on their way to a new life, free from shame and suffering. Dimmesdale did not feel as depressed as before. Hope arose in his heart again. When he returned home, he informed Chillingworth that he no longer needed his medicines. Chillingworth was too frightened to ask the priest whether he knew about his true identity. Dimmesdale needed to finish writing his speech for an upcoming holiday, but when he looked through his notes, he did not like it. He threw the papers into the fire and started writing a new one. Several days later, however, Hester received depressing news. The townspeople gathered in the marketplace to celebrate the holiday. Hester was also there, but she was lost in thought and did not engage with anyone. Suddenly, one of the sailors from the ship to England approached her. "Mistress, I have good news for you," he said. "You won't have to fear illness on the ship, as we will have 2 doctors on board and the ship is stuffed with medicines." "2 doctors? Do you mean that there will be 1 more passenger?" asked Hester. "Yes. Roger Chillingworth will be accompanying us. He says that he knows you and Master Dimmesdale very well," said the sailor. "He does indeed," replied Hester in a whisper. She was shocked and heartbroken. She saw Chillingworth on the opposite side of the marketplace. The man curved his lips into a mysterious smile, and Hester shook in fear. She observed the people around her with no interest, and unhappy thoughts filled her head. Finally, she saw Dimmesdale making his way through the crowd. He looked better than before, but Hester felt no joy in her heart. He had a look of confidence on his face, and suddenly, she felt that he had never been the crying, desperate man from the forest. He was a respectable priest, a man way beyond her reach. How could she ever believe they were meant to be happy together? Sadly, she lowered her eyes. An old woman approached Hester. It was Mistress Hibbins, the governor's sister. Some townspeople thought that she was mad, and others suspected that she was a witch. Most people were afraid of her. "Look at our Mr. Dimmesdale," whispered Mistress Hibbins. "He's carrying himself with such confidence. He became so different since he took that walk in the forest. Are you sure it's still the same man that you encountered on the path among the trees?" "I don't understand what you're talking about," said Hester. She knew that the woman was mad, but her words were so accurate that they frightened Hester. "I have danced with the devil in the forest many times, and I think he did too," said Mistress Hibbins. "The devil signed the priest with his mark over the heart, and it will soon be revealed to all of us." "What does this mark look like?" asked Hester. "Why are you accusing him of such things?" But the woman did not reply. She disappeared into the crowd. Meanwhile, it was time for the priest's speech. Everyone was very satisfied with it. Dimmesdale spoke with passion about the special relationship between God and man. Upon its conclusion, everyone agreed that this had been the best speech of Dimmesdale's life. But there was also an evident sadness to his voice. Maybe it was due to unconscious thoughts about his own sin, or maybe he sensed his approaching death. After the service, the crowd left the building and went to the town hall. All the government officials and priests were there. As they were approaching the scaffold, Dimmesdale suddenly stopped. Everyone stared at him. He was very pale and weak. He noticed Hester and Pearl, stretched out his hands and said, "Come here, Hester. Come here, my little Pearl." Out of nowhere, it seemed, Chillingworth appeared near him. He grabbed the priest by the arm and whispered, "Are you mad? What are you doing this for? You will ruin your reputation and your life." "I'm afraid it's already too late," replied Dimmesdale. "Hester, come here and stand with me on the scaffold. I am a dying man, and there is no hope for me. But God knows I don't want to die a dishonest man." So, Hester took little Pearl, and the three mounted the scaffold. Then Dimmesdale addressed the townspeople. "People of New England," he cried, "you have trusted me with your faith for the past 7 years. You have admired me and rejected this woman, saying that she had sinned. But here I am, the one sinner of the world. God knew about it, the devil knew about it, and now it's your turn. Hester Prynne is not the only one to carry the red mark on her chest. See for yourself." With a rapid movement, he tore his shirt apart to display what had remained hidden for so long. Everyone stared at him in silence. He stood still for some time and then collapsed to the ground. Hester took him in her arms. "Goodbye, Hester. Goodbye, little Pearl," he whispered. "Will we meet again in heaven?" asked Hester with tears in her eyes. "I don't know," said Dimmesdale, "but God is kind. He made me suffer so much, and in that way I think I escaped the burning depths of hell. Live on and praise the name of the Lord. Goodbye." That last word came with the priest's dying breath, and that was the end of him. No one was sure of what they saw that day. The majority agreed that Dimmesdale had a scarlet letter on his chest over his heart. However, they did not know whether it was God's mark, the consequence of Chillingworth's harmful magic, or a wound caused by Dimmesdale himself. Others said that they saw nothing. Chillingworth died a year later, leaving all his money to Pearl. The girl and Hester disappeared for several years. Then, Hester came back alone and settled in Boston. She never took off the Scarlet Letter, but it did not have any meaning anymore. When she died, she was buried next to Dimmesdale. They shared the stone, on which there was a bright red letter A.
Like and subscribe to support our channel and keep getting new stories. And now, check out another awesome audiobook.